Members of the European Parliament, let me first of all thank you very much for this opportunity to, together with Commissioner Moedas, address the issue of greening the EU bank. The cooperation between the European Parliament and the EIB has always been very close, and the EP has been crucial in guiding our financing activities as the EU bank. So discussing the future steps is very, very welcome opportunity for which I thank Mr. President, the members of the European Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity is at a crossroads. We must act immediately and swiftly if we want to ensure a sustainable transition to a net zero emissions economy. And if we have listened to the European voters in the election to the European Parliament this spring, we see that the European citizens are sometimes ahead of the public sphere. According to the special Eurobarometer on climate change published last month, 93% of respondents think climate change is a serious problem, and 79% think it is a very serious problem. We would not have achieved these results even 1 year ago. Now it's there. A majority of respondents in 19 countries think climate change is one of the most serious problems facing the world today. These numbers speak for themselves. Citizens in the EU and beyond are asking us to stand up to the challenge. The accumulation of greenhouse gases has caused average temperatures to rise by almost 1 degree Celsius globally above pre-industrial levels. Two-thirds of this increase has occurred since 1975. If business continues as usual, we will have stoked a rise in global average temperatures of 4 degrees centigrade by the end of this century. That might not sound too much, and in a city like Brussels today, you might think 4 degrees more, isn't that such a bad idea? But our climate is fragile, very fragile, and small changes in surface temperature have a significant impact. For instance, the last time average temperatures lay 4 degrees centigrade below pre-industrial levels, Brussels lay buried beneath several kilometers of ice. You can imagine then what 4 degrees hotter might mean. Under such a scenario, heat waves would become the norm. An average July day in Europe would see temperatures in excess of 40 degrees Celsius. So drought, forest fires, crop failures, food shortages, and disease pandemics would become commonplace events, potentially displacing millions of people. We should remember that the past or present wave of migration in the Middle East, marked as it has been by human suffering and death, had its origins in drought and other climate-related problems. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2012, we have provided 150 billion euros for finance, supporting 550 billion euros of investment in climate action and environmental sustainability, making the EU Bank Group one of the world's largest multilateral providers of finance for climate and environment projects. As a matter of fact, the largest one. Since we first set ourselves a climate action finance target in 2010, our ambition has been increasing. In 2015, we were the driving force behind the multilateral development banks in the Paris process and in the United Nations Summit on the Sustainable Development Goals. And there, in this context, we pledged to provide $100 billion for climate action projects in the 5-year period to 2020. We're delivering on that target. Indeed, since 2016, we have invested approximately $71 billion into climate action projects. Last year alone, 16 billion again. Having said that, the EIB can and is ready to become even greener. We have listened to the conclusions of the European Council in June, which requested the EU Bank to step up its climate action activities. We have listened to the very clear message by President-elect Ursula von der Leyen in her address to you at the European Parliament, and we have listened to you, the European Parliament, for very vocal international calls for action. EIB is expected to be ambitious, and this is the reason why I believe we should not disappoint and make proposals to our shareholders which are ambitious. We are presently finalizing our increased ambition for 2030 climate action and environmental sustainability, and our approach builds around 3 pillars. 1, an increase in our own financing. Last year, nearly 30% of the EIB's new commitments worldwide were dedicated to climate and environmental goals. I would like the EIB to be much bolder and aim for 50% for these activities by 2025. Second, a commitment to grow sustainable finance from billions to trillions. By working with our public and private partners, we aim to help unlock at least €1 trillion of investment by 2030. This would include a marked increase in support for climate adaptation and resilience. As the Commissioner just has said, Mr. President, these objectives are never achievable with taxpayers' money alone. We need to leverage the possibilities that the European Union is giving us by introducing or by drawing in the private sector into the financing of these projects. That's what we are there for. Thirdly, building on our 2015 climate strategy, we will align all the EIB Group's financing activities with the principles and goals of Paris by the end of 2020. This is extremely important because it would be counterproductive if we finance 50% in not greenwashed but real climate projects, and then with the rest of our project, 50%, we destroy exactly what we have just achieved by financing dirty stuff. This will not happen. Alignment with the Paris Agreement will determine a change in EIB Group's policies and actions, starting with a pledge to phase out energy projects that depend on fossil fuels. This is my proposal. It is difficult. The new EIB energy lending policy, which is currently under discussion by the EIB board, will be an important step in this regard. With a very strong focus on energy efficiency, renewable energy, power grids and research and development, the EIB believes the proposed energy lending policy is well aligned with EU priorities and funding. And we will again achieve this only if another condition is being met beyond attracting the private sector, and that is via strengthening innovation. This builds on our 2015 climate strategy, which committed us to mainstream climate change consideration in everything we do. Science tells us that transitioning to a carbon-neutral economy entails ending the use of fossil fuels as soon as possible. Thanks to our emissions performance standard, we have not supported any coal-fired power projects for almost a decade, the first MDB to do so. In addition, we will position the EIB as an incubator for climate finance and expertise to mobilize others, helping our societies and economies transform to a low-carbon level. But we must not forget that some countries are further advanced than others on the road to a low-carbon economy, and that some areas, communities and sectors will be more deeply affected than others by this transition. So while stepping up our role as climate bank, we further commit to working closely with Member States, the Commission and Parliament to ensure a just and fair transition. We are fully aware that different Member States have different needs, and we are committed to ensuring that no one is left behind. And it is not just about energy efficiency and energy supply and energy security, it is also about jobs and growth. For instance, we note that 41 regions in the EU are mining coal, providing jobs to 250,000 people, most of whom have limited opportunities to find alternative employment. You cannot simply take a coal miner and turn her or him into an IT specialist overnight. We have seen the detrimental effects on communities and regions in the past when a transition is not fair and just. Ladies and gentlemen, I am confident that the EIB Group can greatly contribute to implement the ambitious vision of the European Green Deal, thanks to our proven ability to mobilize investment and support for EU priorities on climate action and environmental sustainability. And as requested by Vice President Timmermans yesterday before Parliament, you can count on EIB to be a key partner in the implementation of the Sustainable Europe Investment Plan. We stand ready to work with you and develop new products and ideas to make this vision a reality.